valuable.
Oh, no,
for
it
them.
is very valuable. Those were later questions, so you kind of pre-answered a lot of questions that I already had. Now I'm going to have to come up with new ones. Hello everybody, today we are here to talk about seniors and that transition that they have to make from their living space into something different. I'm Tim Saeland with PDXRE team, and I am a seniors real estate specialist, so I have a little bit more training on helping people transition into this next move and change in their life. And we're here today with Belinda Godin, who's a senior advisor and a placement specialist. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Belinda?
We're all going to need to make a decision at some point about our elder situation, whatever that's going to look like. And what I do is I advise, and sometimes that's advising a senior, sometimes it's advising their adult children, because oftentimes they're the first call. It's guiding, it's being an advocate, it's standing in the gap for them when they start to look around. So we go on facility tours too, and that's what I do.
Now this chat here today is not to sell you anything. This is to hopefully give you a little bit of education and help you process or figure out the process of this next step in your parents' life or your own life, depending on who's in control. A lot of the times the seniors have an attachment to a home they've been in there 30 years. And a lot of times children don't know when they need to start this process. So that is going to be my first question to you is, as a child, if they're looking at their parents who don't think anything may be wrong with them and they need to start considering this, what are some of the first signs a child should be looking for that they may be needing to reach out to somebody like you or me?
Good question. You're going to be looking for hygiene, grooming. Are they taking care of things the way they used to? What about the house? Is the yard going? Do things need to happen around the house that Dad always did or Mom always did, and now they're not happening? So it's a decline in the self, and it's a decline in surroundings.
Correct. I remember when we noticed my grandmother needed a little bit of assistance, and when you talk to them on the phone, they talk normal.
They sound fine.
They sound
Everything's
fine.
fine.
Everything's fine. They're never going to tell you when it's not.
Right.
But we go into the refrigerator, and she loved to bake. And so we go into the refrigerator, she's starting to bake, and we noticed that a lot of the food that she was using and there was moldy, and she didn't even realize it. Absolutely.
So a lot of times folks are not eating well. We're doing a lot of microwaving where the nutrition count drops a lot. Maybe it's medication management. There's been some overdosing or underdosing. Just forgetting what I'm supposed to be doing in my day. We used to compare notes all the time on my mom. How was Mom today? She was fine on the phone until I showed up in her driveway 5 minutes later. And then things were not fine, right?
Yeah.
And so you compare notes. And you know, what we found out about our mom is that she was different with each of us. Didn't know that was happening. I expected that she was the same with all of us, but that's not what happened.
So I've also noticed a lot of times when I've helped out seniors, they don't exactly know how to reach out themselves. Because there are going to be different situations, whether it be independent living, assisted living, memory care.
Right.
And those are 3 different areas that you can help the family and or the senior determine where they might or should be, along with their doctor possibly. But just to come to you and get some advice on where do I go from here? What's the process? What do I do?
So the process begins with discovery, where we just have a really in-depth conversation about what's going on currently. And then we do, if I can, if the person lives nearby, I do an in-home assessment. I love to be able to help someone age in place in their home if that can happen. But often by the time I get that phone call, they're beyond that. So that being said, then we talk about, okay, financially, we need to see what assets you have, how have you saved for this point in your life. Some people have not saved, so it's a big surprise, if you will. And that's one of the reasons I do the talks that I do in the community is we need to know, you need to know what things you need to be preparing for. So maybe it is the sale of a home, okay, and that's going to fund their senior living.
Their senior living, yeah. People at a certain age and living on Social Security and don't have any assets for the most part except for their home are fearful. Now, you have been able to determine that people can age in place. And there's a lot of contractors out there will help out in setting up the home and prepping the home so you can age in place.
That's one of the things that is helpful to me going into that conversation when I know that they have to sell their home. And if they can age in place, then we can figure that piece out right off the bat very easily for them. So yeah, that makes a difference.
So as a child of an elder parent who is considering this, and we don't reach out to people like you or me, what are some of the red flags that somebody should be looking for in a retirement community?
Well, one of the one of the first things you should do is, okay, it's kind of like real estate in that I ask folks, okay, do you have an area in mind, right? Location. They usually want to be close to wherever their mom or dad's going to live. So that makes sense. So then you pull a list of those folks or those communities in that geographic area and you give them a report card from the state. How do they look? What surveys have they passed? Like I was just
And they can find that on a state site?
They can state that. They can find that on the state site. They sure can. But I can also pull that for them, right? So go in with some knowledge. You know, if you have some knowledge, you've read something and you go and visit a community with a senior advisor, then you're going to say, okay, can you explain this situation and how this showed up for your community? Because I've done my homework.
Yeah. Sometimes people, instead of getting into a larger community like this, they have some of those smaller 5-people retirement homes.
That's an adult care home.
Adult care home.
And I would say this about that. It depends on the personality and the health concerns. Not everybody, that's not a fit for everybody, and it can be a great fit for those that it makes sense for. But also, you can have a community that has 100 apartments, and you can have communities that have half that, and that there's a more intimate environment there. People find their way. They do. And the staff at communities, if they don't go out of their way to make a new resident blend in and get acquainted, they're not doing their job.
I do want to suggest to anybody, if you are working from a distance, so your parents live here in Oregon or in Arizona and you're in New York or California and you are working from a distance, if you'd like to get a little bit more knowledge on where you might be sending them to, do me a favor, go out and volunteer for a day or go out and even just visit the seniors at one of these senior centers. They have each other, but a lot of times their children are far away. Going to visit, my sister does this a lot. She'll just go and visit and talk to people because, again, that's all they want to do at that time. They want to talk to people. They want to get to know. They still want to be interactive.
Absolutely.
And, you know, when you're in a community, it's kind of limited sometimes. Visitors who do come are visiting just their parents. So, you know, go to the lonely ones and you can see how it will be for your parents potentially in one of these homes.
I always recommend that you go for a meal, right? The thing about volunteering is great, but you have to jump through hoops for volunteering because you go through a background check and all that, which makes sense, right? But going for a meal, showing up for an activity, you know, if you've moved someone in. But absolutely, when I'm working with someone and we've narrowed down the field of where we think mom or dad may want to go, then we're making extra appointments. We're going to go for a meal. We're going to go on an outing. We're going to, and I encourage. I've got a lady that's getting ready to move into this beautiful community soon, and she has an open door invitation to come over for any of the activities before she ever brings her suitcase. I love that.
There's one of the tricks that I don't know if I remember being taught in my seniors real estate specialist training or not, but I have always found, or I always suggest, if somebody is moving into assisted living, moving from their house, you've noticed a lot of the older people, maybe not so much today, but from what I've seen, have collections. And one of the things I've suggested, they want to take their things with them. They want to take their items with them, and a lot of times there's no room in the places that they're going to. So I've suggested that you take pictures and then maybe even have them write a little bit of story about that collection or about that one thing that they now have to either give away to their children so they can look through their picture book. Because memories, I mean, that's what keeps us alive too, is going through our memories. And now all of a sudden we don't have these items in front of us.
That's an excellent thing to do because it's also passing down something beautiful to your kids, right? It goes so far in helping the transition go well.
I've heard stories, and I'm sure other people have heard stories too, that they walk into a community and or they have the perception that, oh, if I put them there, they're just there to die now. Can you give me some of the top key points for the difference between somebody who may be needing independent living versus assisted living?
Okay, so I would say to those of you who are starting out to think about this, a lot of times people move into independent living because they're lonely, all right? And they don't like to cook. And they're going to get typically good, nutritious meals here. And in independent living, for example, it's like 2 meals a day are usually provided, sometimes 3. In assisted living, it's always 3 plus snacks. So in independent living, you come and go. Some people are still driving. They're doing their life just like they did it before their address changed. And they have a lot more social life. Because there's lots of things to do.
So anybody who's still capable of taking care of themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
But again, you're wanting to get into a community where you feel a little bit more comfortable versus having all the young kid neighbors and more affordable independent living than assisted living is somebody who cannot take care of themselves anymore.
Sometimes assisted living is simply that you can't manage your meds. And that's a big deal, right?
It is, yeah.
It is a big deal. So when you marry the nutrition and you marry that to the medication management and you throw in there the social aspect of it, think about it this way. An elderly person's orbit is very small typically. We've got the easy chair, the television, the kitchen, the bathroom, right? If they've got a dog, great, they're getting more exercise than someone who doesn't. But that is a small orbit. When you move into a community, you have the dining room, you have the activity room, you have the exercise room, you go on outings. I like to remind people that when you make this choice, people tend to think about what they're giving up. So I try to educate about that. Let's think about what we are gaining when we make this big change that you're afraid of. And here is the trade-off.
And you sometimes go along and help by visiting a place with them and explaining that while they're there.
Right.
Great, that's great.
The conversation after the tour is so telling, right? If they'll be vulnerable with me, and they usually will be, I'll see what they're fearing, right? And we can address that right away. And those conversations happen promptly because it's fresh on their minds. It's kind of like after you show a home. You want your buyer to tell you what they liked or didn't like, so that maybe you're going to adjust what you show them next, right? Yeah. That's what I do too.
And it's all about building that rapport from the start. It's understanding what these people are going through, having experience in what these people are going through, and the different personalities that you will have to be dealing with and how to present this, which makes it much more successful for them to make this major change in their lives.
Absolutely. So. I think more than anything, what I want to leave you with is that being present in this conversation is so important from a physical standpoint, but also from an emotional standpoint, that you're there. Think about it. When we're that age, we want someone to see us. We want to be visible, not invisible, and their voice needs to be heard. So I just encourage you to listen.
And there's usually a lot of choices out there. So if you are looking for a assisted living or an independent community, right. Here in the Portland metro area, I know that we have some that look over the river. We have this beautiful scenery out here. Even though we're in Raleigh Hills, I see nothing but woods out here. Right. On the window. Some of them are a little bit more in the city, if that's the kind of feel that you want. So there's a lot of choices out there, and you should definitely shop around. And what is it that your parent and or you, if you're looking for yourself, are going to be more comfortable living around and living in?
A person living here can step out the door and walk on over to the grocery store, get their hair done, probably get their nails done, go to the travel agency, have some great Mexican food. So these are all things that empower them to move, keep moving in their life, and bring a sense of vitality to their lifestyle here. So.
Well, thank you for joining us here today. And again, if you have any questions on that, we're here to help. We do have some of the experience. Please feel free to reach out to us. This move can be very daunting. It can seem overwhelming when you're trying to help your parent or yourself to making a change like this.
But it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. And even if you just have questions, we're more than happy to answer those questions for you. So feel free to reach out to us via a DM or post a comment below if you want to hear anything more about this. We'd be happy to answer, and we're always here for you.
Good.
So thank you very much, Belinda.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, it was
lovely
great.
talking to you.
It was fun talking to you. Thanks for the time.